Hello guys, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, teacher.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Hello,
Edwin.
teacher. Good
Hello,
afternoon.
Kenya. Hello,
Good
Miss Lady.
afternoon, teacher.
Good afternoon, Edwin. How are you doing? Are you ready for the class?
Hello, teacher.
Hello, Karen. How are you doing? Are you ready, guys, for the class? Yes?
Yes.
Nice. Today we're going to start with a new topic. Um, Believe me, this is almost the last week for the classes, so I guess we're going to finish the classes next week, okay? So this will be almost the last topic, okay? So last week we studied the second conditional, right? We haven't studied the third one yet. But we're going to continue with the third conditional for the next level, okay? So today we're going to study a new one, a new topic, and I will share that information with you, okay? So there you have it. We're going to study adjective clauses with who, that, and where. Also, we're going to study the adjective clauses with where, when, and why. Okay? So I will explain you that, or the uses of where, when, and why later, right? So it says adjective clauses. An adjective clause, also called a relative clause, is a dependent clause that modifies a noun or pronoun. It tells which one or what kind of adjective clauses almost always come right after the nouns they modified. And when you have a clause, guys, you can have a dependent clause and an independent clause. Like in the conditionals, right, we have two clauses. We have the if clause and also the main clause, right? So this is almost the same, but we're going to use the words who, that, which, or whose, depends of the information of the sentence to modify a noun or a pronoun, ¿ok? Entonces, ¿qué nos dice acá? Las adjective clauses casi siempre van después del nombre que esa clause o que esa oración está modificando, ¿ok? So, here we have some examples. There is the mountain. Look at this one. There is the mountain that we are going to climb, right? So there is the mountain. There will have like the noun. Which is the noun here? Mountain. So this dependent clause or relative clause, it is modifying the mountain or is adding extra information about this noun, right? So that we are going to climb. Yes? Or my blue tennis shoes, which used to be my mom's, right? You are adding what? Extra information about the blue shoes, right? So, which used to be my mom's, right? Were under the bed. So, if you notice in this sentence, or you have this, the dependent clause that starts with which, right? And it is modifying what? My blue tennis shoes, right? So there you can continue, or you can say my blue tennis shoes were under the bed. What is that? That is the independent clause. Es una oración que puede estar por sí sola, ¿verdad? My blue tennis shoes were under the bed. Es una oración completa, puede decirse, puede escribirse sola y tiene un significado completo. Pero ¿qué está haciendo la adjective clause acá? Está agregando información extra de quién es. de los blue tennis shoes, ¿verdad? De los zapatos. Está agregando información extra. Y que es una dependent clause, porque por sí sola no tiene un significado, ¿verdad? Entonces, por ello necesitamos una independent clause y una dependent clause. Y en este caso, the adjective clause, it is modifying the blue tennis shoes, right? So, also there, Daniel, who was late again today, sits next to me in English. So you can say, Daniel sits next to me in English, and that is a complete sentence, right? It has a complete meaning, right? But you are adding with the adjective clause extra information, or you're modifying who? Daniel, right? You're talking about Daniel, right? So, Daniel, who was late again today, right? Extra information about Daniel, sits next to me in English, right? So, using dependent clauses is a way of combining sentences. Daniel was late again today, right? Plus, Daniel sits next to me in English. So you're combining, you're adding extra information and almost combining those sentences. You can say Daniel, right, who was late again today. That is what? The adjective clause sits next to me in English, right? So you are combining those sentences. With relative pronouns or adjective clauses, right, you can say an adjective clause generally begins with a relative pronoun, that. So you're going to use this, right, as a subject or an object pronoun for people and things, right? You can say, the book that I saw was red, right? That will be one. Or also you have which. You can use these as a subject or an object pronoun for things, right? Or who, you are going to use this for people, right? You can use whom also, that is for people, but can be as an object or a relative pronoun, whom, right? Also whose, we're going to use whose for possessions. When you talk about possessions or you add extra information about possessions, that connects the clauses to the noun or pronoun it modifies. Entonces, ¿qué hacen estas adjective clauses? Modifican o agregan información extra de el nombre o el pronombre del que se está hablando en la oración. With understood pronouns, sometimes the relative pronoun is understood and not written in the sentence. For example, the teacher I had in 5th grade really inspired me, right? So, you are admitting or you don't mention what? The adjective clause or the relative pronoun there. You can say it, the teacher whom I had in 5th grade really inspired me. En algunas ocasiones no es necesario que ustedes agreguen un relative pronoun, ¿verdad? En este caso, whom, or it could be who, right? The teacher who I had in 5th grade really inspired me, right? Sometimes it is not necessary, right? Because it's understood and not written in the sentences. ¿Por qué? Ya está, ya se sobreentiende de lo que ustedes están hablando en la oración, entonces no es necesario que utilicen un relative pronoun en este caso, ¿verdad? O sea, en este caso es whom, o puede ser whom, porque estamos hablando de the teacher, una persona, ¿verdad? Entonces por eso podríamos utilizar es el relative pronoun, pero como pues en la oración se sobreentiende lo que ustedes están hablando, de qué personas están hablando, entonces no es necesario a veces colocar el relative pronoun. Also with relative adverbs, we can have these. Adjective clauses can also start with the relative adverbs where, when, and why. Como les mencioné anteriormente, también podemos utilizar relative adverbs. En este caso pueden ser where. We're going to use where for places, and when. We're going to use it for times. And why. We're going to use why for reasons. They connect the dependent clause to a noun in the sentence. The relative adverbs modify the verb in the dependent clause. ¿Y qué modifican estas? Relative adverbs modifican el verbo. Este cambia, ¿verdad?, de la oración dependiente. Entonces, modifican ¿cuál? El verbo, no el nombre, no el sujeto de la oración, ¿verdad? En todo caso, independiente, sino que de la oración dependiente. For example, that is the bench where you and I were supposed to meet, right? So you and I were supposed to meet. What were you modifying, right? You're talking about what? Bench. That will be what? The place, right? You're talking about it. So you have, that is the bench where you and I were supposed to meet, right? So you are adding what? Extra information about the bench or the place in that sentence. Or so you can say, that is the reason why I couldn't meet you. So that is the reason. You have here what? The relative adverb, right? Say why I couldn't, that is, you're starting here another sentence. I couldn't meet you, right? So you're asking, or you're giving, in this case, not asking, giving like a reason why, right? Also, you have here 6 o'clock was the time when we were supposed to be there. So when, remember, you're going to use it when you talk about time. Yes? So guys, I don't know if you have questions or comments about this. I guess this is a little bit easy. I don't know if you have comments, questions. No? Is everything clear? ¿Todo está claro, jóvenes? De hecho es un tema bastante corto. Tiene algunas complicaciones, ¿verdad? A veces a la hora de escribir las clauses. Questions? No?
No, teacher.
Combine each of the following pairs of simple sentences into one complex sentences containing an adjective clauses. There you have 2 sentences. For example, the first one, let me do this. The theft was committed last night. One sentence. Then we're going to have the other one. The police officer has caught the man. Right? So, we're going to start with this one. The police, let me write it down here. The police has caught, let's say has caught the man, right? So the man, we're talking about the man, right? That is a person. So we're going to use the, in this case, the relative pronoun, not the adjective, because the relative pronoun what? For person, who, right? Or who, in this case, who, right? What? What did the man do? ¿Qué hizo este hombre? You say, committed, right? What happened there? ¿Qué hizo? cometió un robo, ¿verdad? Entonces, the police has caught the man who committed, right? The theft. In this case, that is the theft, right? Last night. When? Last night, right? So in that case, guys, you're using this. Who? What is this? The relative pronoun, right? And why did we use that? Because we were talking about what? A man, right? And remember, who, you're going to use who for people, for, right? Or also you can use whom if it is like an object of a relative pronoun. But in this case, that is the police has caught the man who committed the theft, right, last night. And we're doing what? We are combining both sentences using a relative pronoun. And here we have what? An adjective clause. You are adding what? Extra information about the man who committed the theft last night. ¿A quién atrapó la policía? Al hombre que cometió el robo anoche. Entonces acuérdense que los adjective clauses están dando como información extra o están modificando en todo caso el nombre, ¿verdad? En este caso, the man, right? Entonces, chicos, esto es lo que van a hacer ustedes. Combine. Van a combinar esas dos oraciones, preguntas que ustedes tengan ahí y las van a utilizar, ¿verdad? En todo caso, los relative pronouns puede ser who, that, which, whose, where, when, right? Why, depende. ¿Depende de qué? De